my wife, who is a very honorable person, plays by the rules and everything, would always question me. Didn't you know that was wrong, Larry, to be stealing? Didn't you know that was wrong to do those things? Well, I really didn't. I mean, I went along with the crowd. I remember one time these two guys, I was living in Vallejo, these two guys came and they were in a sports car and they had stole the sports car. Well, I didn't know it, you see, and I was working in the yard and my father had told me to, do the yard. And, Larry, come on with us, come on, man, let's go for a ride. And something inside of me said, no, don't go. Something's wrong with this. I said, no, I can't, I gotta do it. Well, later on in the radio, I heard there was a high-speed chase over by Benicia in his sports car, and those two kids were killed in that car. When the car crashed, it threw the bodies like 125 feet away from the car. They hit a barrier, and I always thought to myself, man, that could have been me, and I did things to survive. I wasn't a mean person. I wasn't a hateful person. I didn't want, when we got into fights with other kids and stuff like that, it was just because I was hanging with my boys. When the stuff went down, you jumped in and you were part of that thing. But I tell this story that really shook me when I was a little kid. You see, we were playing King of the Mountain, and I was with these black kids, they were brothers, and my friend Lewis, and we were up on top of this hill and we were throwing rocks, and then these older white boys came up the hill, and they were high school boys at that. We were in grammar school at the time, and they started throwing rocks at us and yelling, "Get out of here, niggers, get out of here, niggers," and they chased us off of the top of the mountain. So we ran down to the top of the mountain, and they were chasing us, and Eugene's brother fell. Well, there was three of them, these three white boys, and they started kicking him and beating him as he was on the ground, and Eugene stopped, and he stopped and had tears in his eyes coming down his face, and I said, Eugene, what? He said, I gotta go back and get my brother. I gotta go back and get him. If I don't, my father will beat me if I don't go back and get my brother. So he turned around and he ran back to help his brother, and I ran back with him. Well, like I said, these guys were bigger and older than us, and Eugene was in there fighting like a wildcat, man, and two of them were on him, and when they got him to the ground, I looked over and there was a 2x4 there. Well, I picked up this 2x4 and I hit this kid in the back of the head, and it sounded like a melon when it cracks. It went boom, like that, and he fell to the ground face first, and I thought, oh my God, I killed him. Well, it's like everything just stopped, and everybody looked around. Eugene picked up his brother, and we all took off and were running. Later on, I expected the police to come to my door and arrest me for murder. I thought I had killed that kid. Well, later on, I had got injured, and I went to the general hospital. My father took me, and I saw that kid in the hospital, the general hospital, and he had like a bandage all the way around his head, and he didn't recognize me. He didn't know who I was or anything, but I looked in his eyes, and there was this like kind of dazed look in his face. That made me say, you know what, I don't ever want to hurt another human being again for the rest of my life, And after that, when we did get into fights and stuff, it wasn't to kill. It was just because you had to fight. You couldn't lay down and play dead, so. And my uncle, who after my mother left my father, I went to live with my uncle and my aunt. And my uncle was a trained martial artist with Chuck Norris's brother. Chuck Norris had a dojo here in Stockton, in South Stockton, that my Uncle Ray would go to work out. And My uncle, I came back a couple of times scuffed up, and my uncle said, "You been in a fight?" "Yeah, uncle." And he said, "You know how to fight?" I said, "Yeah, I know how to fight." He said, "Listen." He said, "I'm going to teach you how to fight." And I said, "Okay, uncle." And he said, first rule about fighting, there's no such thing as a fair fight. There's a winner and there's a loser. Which one do you want to be?" I said, "I want to be the winner." He said, "Okay, but I'm going to teach you." He taught me not a fist fight is a fool's fight. You don't use your fist. You know, you block, you parry, you kick, you take out knees, you do things because you'll hurt your hands. He said, a lot of people hurt their hands. He said, so remember that. So when I got into fights, it was, I never gouged eyes. I never threw dirt in people's eyes and stuff like that. But I fought. I mean, so that was the difference in that.